Okay, for the bell work, we have a rectangular prism, so we're using our surface area formula. SA equals perimeter times the height plus 2 area of the base. For our perimeter, we're adding 9.5 plus 5. This side is also 9.5, and this side is also 5. When you add those three values together, we get 29. Our height connects our base to the top, which is 3. And for our capital B, area of the base, we have a rectangle, so it's base times height. 9.5 times 5, which gives us 47.5. We can go ahead and plug those values into our formula. 29 times 3 plus 2 times 47.5. When you multiply 29 times 3, you get 87. And when you multiply 47.5 times 2, you get 95. Our last step would be to add those two values together. 87 plus 95 gives us 178. Our units are meters squared. Area is always units squared. Okay, so we're going over volume of prisms. Our targets for today: identify three-dimensional shapes and calculate the volume of prisms. Our first vocabulary word is volume. The volume of a three-dimensional figure is the measure of the space it occupies. For prisms, we always use the formula capital B times H. Capital B is our area of the base, and H is our height. If we have a rectangular prism, you can use the formula length times width times height. And if you have a triangular prism, you can use the formula 1/2 length times width times height, or length times width times height divided by 2. Since you have a triangle, when you do your capital B, you'll be using 1/2. Okay, our first question, we have a rectangular prism. Remember, for prisms, I always do capital B times H. If I find my capital B, I'm multiplying 9.5 times 5, and I get 47.5, and my height is 3. This is the same example from the bell work, except this time we're finding our volume. I plug those values into my formula. 47.5 times my height, which is 3, and when I multiply those two values together, I get 142.5. When you're finding volume, you're multiplying 3 lengths, so we have volume represented as units cubed with that 3 instead of squared. Next problem, we're still using the same volume formula. This time we have a rectangular prism, so when we find our area of the base, we're going to have to divide by 2. So I use my base, which is 4, times my height of the triangle, which is 5. I have to divide by 2. 4 times 5 is 20. 20 divided by 2 gives us 10. My height connects our two bases, and we get 7. Plug that value back into your formula. Area of the base is 10. Our height is 7. 10 times 7 gives us 70. We have inches, and since it's volume, we're using units cubed. Okay, number 3, we have another rectangular prism. Our volume formula is area of the base times the height. To find our area of the base, we're multiplying length times width, or base times height of our bottom shape, so we're multiplying 11 times 5. 11 times 5 gives us 55, and our height for this prism is 4. We can plug those back into our formula. Base is 55, height is 4. When you multiply 55 times 4, you get 220, and our units this time are inches cubed. if you notice, we could have just multiplied 11 times 5 times 4 to come up with the same answer, length times width times height. Okay, number 4, we have a prism. Volume equals area of the base times the height. This time we have a triangular prism, so when we find our capital B, we have to divide by 2. We have 7 times 3, which we need to divide by 2. 7 times 3 is 21, and when you divide 21 by 2, you get 10.5. And our height connects our base to the top, which gives us a height of 6 yards for this example. Plug our values into our formula. Area of the base is 10.5, and we need to multiply that value by 6. 10.5 times 6 gives us 63. Our units are yards squared. We could have also solved using length times width times height dividing by 2, since we have a triangular prism. So you can multiply 7 times 3 times 6 and divide by 2. 7 times 3 times 6 equals 126. Divide 126 by 2 and you get 63. So either way you will come up with the same answers, and this should be units cubed. Okay, for the last example, you are comparing your volumes. You want to know which one has a greater volume. For our first cabinet, we have cabinet 1 or one cabinet. Length is 3, width is 2.5, and height is 5. When you multiply these three values, 3 times 2.5 times 5 gives us 37.5. So that would be feet cubed. For our other cabinet, we have 4 by 3.5 by 4.5. So we're going to multiply those three values. 4 times 3.5 times 4.5 gives us 63 feet squared. So we know that the second cabinet is bigger because it has a greater volume. The second it's bigger, or you could have wrote has a greater volume. Because we know that 63 feet cubed is bigger than 37 feet cubed. Your homework for tonight is page 643, and you're doing questions 1 through 3.